it was just delightful. It felt like drinking a very clear glass of water on a hot summer day.
Well, hi.
Oh, hi.
What did I burp on camera? It's little.
Okay,
It's just a small
it was
one.
just little.
She's
Probably
got,
nobody noticed.
censorship Merlin too, if you need to.
Merlin?
Yeah, you know
Oh,
Merlin from the
yeah.
Sword of the Stone, the cartoon one?
Mm-hmm.
I have a little, like, badly cut out of him, and I just put it over things on screen that I don't want people to see.
We'll show him here.
Merlin, everyone.
Thank you.
Looked him up and down.
Took it away from
Up
me.
and down, and then put him in a circle, Olivia.
Okay, but no more, because that's probably the limit of my editing skills. So basically, we just watched Totoro earlier today. I watched it a lot as a kid, and Allison watched it like once as a kid, and Whitney had never seen it before. So we have all of the kinds of relationship you could have with a
The
movie.
wide scope of human emotion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just gonna quickly talk about that, and then go do something else.
Yeah, probably watch another movie and then do this again.
Most likely, yes. That's the plan.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yay!
Period.
That's the review. That's the movie.
Come back next time. Yeah, I thought it was charming. I thought it was completely delightful. Because some movies have very heavy conflicts and, you know, there's a serious driving force and you're worried the whole time. And sometimes that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it was just two little girls and they were having an adventure, and then there was a little bit of oh no moment at the end, but it was resolved really quickly and even still in a very delightfully whimsical way.
Yeah.
So you weren't worried, you weren't even worried for that long. Just for like a few minutes, and then it was okay again.
There was a moment when we were watching it when you were like, I thought I wasn't gonna have to worry.
There was a moment where they said we found a shoe floating in a pond, and I was like, oh no!
But then, yeah, Satsuki comes up to Nanny and is like, it's not her sandal, and they just like sink down. And then he was like, oh my god.
People
So
start sitting down.
Yeah.
I thought that was so, like, they're just gonna poke her body out of the water or something. Like, try to. Oh!
I was watching a video a couple weeks ago where they were talking about how they used to like put dynamite in to help kind of stir up the water and see if there were any like bodies down in there. You know how they used to do that?
I never knew that!
Oh yeah.
You
Wait,
remember
who?
how they used to do that?
Like, who and why?
Just growing
did
up,
they
you
care?
remember how
Actually,
they do that.
Funny enough, in Tom Sawyer, they would do that. He's on
That's
the
why
book
it's
right
funny.
here. Yeah, because we were just talking about him. But that's where they thought Tom Sawyer had died, and so they were putting TNT, or not TNT, but maybe TNT. I don't know.
Isn't that what makes dynamite? According to the cartoons?
Maybe.
According to the cartoons, I thought they were two different things because TNT is always in a big old crate and it's labeled TNT. But
Red
dynamite
sticks.
is always the red sticks.
Yeah.
So, according to...
Please have Merlin talk over that one.
So according to cartoons, I do think TNT and dynamite are two different things.
But anyway, they put in explosives in the water because it helps bodies float.
But to see if he was... Why did they care if his body was in there?
Because he's just a little boy.
To get it out, that's just
Oh, to get...
People swim in that. Actually, I don't think people do swim in the Mississippi. They shouldn't if they do. It's gross.
If you're swimming in the Mississippi, get out of there.
Stop.
Save yourself.
Let's go to mentalfloss.com.
Oh, they know.
Oh, they'll know.
Mm.
You ever need an expert on explosives?
Go to mental floss.
They'll know.
Yeah.
If it's a white powder found in sticks, it's dynamite. No exceptions.
No exception.
If it's
Wait.
no, they don't say that, but
About
I
pixie sticks.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking.
Oh.
If it's a yellow crystal, it's TNT.
No exceptions.
Use this little mnemonic to remember Dynamite's adventure. Winning a Nobel Prize would be dynamite. That's not a mnemonic. That's just a phrase, right? That a mnemonic had to be like.
Why would that be helpful to remember it?
Because I think it was probably Alfred Nobel.
Winning a Nobel Prize would be dynamite. And
Or
then you just
the
remember.
bomb.
That helps you remember the difference between dynamite and TNT.
It does say the alternative that winning would be TNT just doesn't make any sense.
Screw you, mental floss.
Well,
winning
it
a Nobel
doesn't-
Prize would be TNT.
Okay, the thing is that it doesn't make sense, but it also doesn't explain the difference between... These are like two different kinds of cocaine. powder and
crack.
crystal.
Crystal,
Yeah.
huh?
hmm So
Cocaine comes in crystal?
yeah, that's crack.
Winning Nobel Prize would be crack.
I know about drugs.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't
yeah.
you
So that's
just
the one
bake
that
it?
was. That's the one. Yeah, that was like heavily policed more than the other kind.
More than the powder, because the powder kind was for rich people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
with you. Yep.
And the crystal kind was for poor colored people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
So they go in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Powder stuff is okay.
That's fine.
We don't care.
What could be so bad about that? White people do it.
Totoro.
Yes. Wonderful movie. Yeah, I think it's we were saying earlier too, it's the most lighthearted of the Miyazaki films. Like there's a real heart to the story, but it's not like as serious. Like we were comparing it to like Spirited Away, where the story is like this girl is neglected by her parents, and then she has to go work her life away. And you know what I mean? Like it's very
stressful.
heavy topics. It's very stressful. The elements of like childhood neglect and like late stage capitalism or whatever. And then Totoro by comparison is like, what if you lived in a beautiful summer home?
And even when your mom's in the hospital, she's really nice.
She's really fine.
Yeah, she's okay. And she's, you know, the thing that I expected was our mom's in the hospital and it's very serious and she's going to die before the end of the movie. But every single time they're like, yeah, she's in the hospital, but like she's okay. She's getting out soon. And she does at the end. That's like,
she's fine.
yeah,
Like
she's
the
really
health scare is just a cold.
yeah. And it's really just the two kids spiraling.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's
Yeah.
everything's okay. And I love that because it's told from the eyes of these two young girls who, yeah, they would freak out over that. Their mom's been in the hospital, she's been sick, and they don't really know what's going on. And finally, they've just had enough and they're scared. And, you know,
And
this
then
is
it
how they
works
see
out
it.
okay. But
Yeah.
in the moment, it's very
It's
much
so scary.
the story is definitely told through the mindset of like being a child, and every adventure is like the coolest thing that could ever happen to you,
Yeah.
and any thing that's kind of like sad or upsetting is the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yep.
I also liked you guys mentioned this a lot when we were watching that the relationship between the sisters and the characteristics of the children are very realistic to life.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like when they come to the house, they weren't like, oh, I can't believe we have to move here. They're like, yay, a new house to explore. And like their sibling relationships too, of like May will follow what's the other one's name? Satsuki around the house, and like they just behave very normally. Or like they'll take their shoe. I like whenever they take their shoes off and then they have like knees and feet that are all dirty. I'm like, yeah.
And it's fun that like Satsuki is so much like, she's obviously like 9 or 10 years old, you know, where she loves to like play and have fun, but she also is like just starting to feel grown up. So like when they're having fun, that she and May will play together, but when it's time to be serious, she's like, May, you are being so silly right now.
It's perfect. Like they feel like real children that I would be neighbors with, you know, and see. And they, a couple of May's reactions where she's looking at the tadpoles and then she goes,
She loves to poke stuff
She
because she's
loves to poke
4.
stuff.
Like that's how every 4-year-old is.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of moments too, just like stylistically in the movie, that are so like just peaceful. Like I think this movie, it is very, even in the most high stakes scenes, like overall the movie is just kind of like comforting.
Yeah.
And it'll have just like a moment of like just a toad. And there's nothing, like it's not moving the plot, it's just building the world. And I like that they have those moments of like stillness. That it doesn't have to be, just because it's an adventure doesn't mean it has to be like a constant like
Because that's not
action,
how it is
you know?
when you're on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's not how it is. And that's not how it is when you're a kid. Like sometimes you just have days where you're just like lazing around and it's
look at
hot.
a frog.
And there's a frog,
And that's a staple of Miyazaki films too. Like I remember watching Spirited Away, and there's that scene where they're on the train, and it just goes on for so long. Or they're just sitting and they're eating a dumpling on a patio and looking out.
Yeah.
And it's quiet and it's still. And I feel like any other filmmaker...
And not like a hard cut to like, they get on the train and then next scene they're getting off the train.
No,
but they have
they
a whole
make you
scene
sit
where
in
they're actually traveling.
Yeah.
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 Hi.
Hi.
Do you want to share any thoughts about Totoro?
it's of the highest quality.
It's of the highest quality.
That's actually true. Yeah.
What more can I say?
But, you know, I feel like a less experienced filmmaker, a less talented maybe would try to rush past these moments. They're like, there's not enough action, like the viewer's going to get bored. But Miyazaki shows his skill by intentionally including these moments of stillness where you're allowed to just exist with the characters for a moment. That's really, like, tender. You connect with them even, I would say, because of these moments.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what keeps it engaging.
Yeah, because you can
that
just
it's
kind
not
of sit and
overwhelming.
absorb the stakes, the plot, and now, okay, we can move on, and we, like, have had this moment of quiet, and now we can, like, we as the viewers are prepared to move on as much as the characters are.
Yeah, I agree. One of my like favorite moments in the whole movie is when the dad's in his study and you see May in the background like running and then stopping to look at something and play in the dirt and then just keep running. It's just like I love that from the perspective of inside the dad's office.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like real life.
I love the dad.
He's so lovely. He's like, let's all laugh.
Splash. Everything about him.
Like to make the kids feel better, he's like, what if I just do something shocking? Like,
Right.
something surprising and then they won't be afraid and it works.
And it works. Every single time he talked or did anything at all, I was like, I love him. I love him so much. He's he's so kind and patient. He never does anything that's like a little bit questionable. He's just like, he's a really good dad and he takes good care of his kids and he loves them. And he knows how to connect with them too. Like, I love that the adventure is real in the kids' heads and, you know, in an interpretation where it's not real and Totoro is just a figment of their imagination, that he still like allows them to experience it. He doesn't say, you're imagining things, don't be silly, like grow up. It's that's the king of the forest and you should feel very special that he would come to visit you. And like he meets them on their level and they trust him and they love him so much, and it's just clear that it's a very, very good, healthy family. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
I also definitely did not realize that when I first watched it as a child. I was like, oh, all of this is real, you know? But it's fun that there are the two.
There are two
ways to
perspectives
go.
where like one where you're a kid and you're like, this absolutely happened.
right.
And one where you're an adult and you're like, that might have happened, but it might be symbolic.
Right. And like that's the point, I guess. It's like
It's like the mind of a child. Yeah.
And
Oh, it's
like,
so good.
it's that thought of, you know, of course it's in your head. Where's this from? It's in your head,
but
that doesn't mean that it's not real.
Are you quoting Albus Dumbledore?
Is it from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
It's a little embarrassing.
It just, I think, when Harry dies.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and,
it.
And it's like, am I dead?
It.
Yeah.
Is this?
Yeah,
Am I?
that's
Is
it.
this all my head?
Yeah. Why would that mean that it's not real?
Yeah. It's like, just because it is in your head doesn't mean that it doesn't automatically mean that it isn't real. Like the things that happened to you as a kid that you imagined and the worlds that you created. Like I would play with my brother for hours out in our backyard, and I still remember like the games and the storylines that we had going. Just the fact that it was playing doesn't mean that it didn't like affect us and who we are and who we grew up into. It's like it was in our heads, but we still it was real to us because it was in our heads. It was in our heads.
Yeah. And there's no other way to like even things that are happening in real life. You have to interpret through your own like mentality, so it doesn't matter where it originated necessarily.
Yeah, it was just delightful. I liked, and this is kind of going along with what you said about the characters being realistic and they actually act like little kids, but I feel like a lot of times movies kind of try to but idealize like little girls especially, like, and I loved that because I looked at those two little girls, I was like, oh my gosh, I did, like, they're messy and they're loud and they run and they're so like, they're not elegant, they're not like careful, they're, you know,
Right.
and they're two different distinct personalities too, you know, like they're sisters for sure and they get along, but they're different and they both act like, they have messy hands and messy feet and they're running around and they're like weird. I don't think people realize how weird little girls are. That, I mean, it's like
when she sits in the classroom and has her little crown, she's like, here I am in class with my sister.
So
like,
it's a Totoro.
she's so embarrassed, but there's no reason to to be because everyone in class is utterly charmed by May.
Yeah.
Like, bye May, we'll see you tomorrow. Please come again. And I love that because even like this tiny little conflict of May was lonely and she needed her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like she didn't want to be with Nanny for the day. She needed to be with someone that she already knew and trusted.
Yeah.
And I had this moment of like, well, the teacher wouldn't let
And then
May, and then she's there.
And then
Like,
she
and I was
does,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh! Every turn, I was so surprised and just delighted at how this movie progressed because there wasn't ever like a mean neighbor. There wasn't ever a moment where it's like you need to grow up and you need to like realize that the world isn't like perfectly charming all the time. But like it is here. People are nice, and I love that it's not naive, but it is like aggressively anti-cynical. It's, you know,
Yeah.
no, I'm not stupid, but I am going to choose, like, every single person in my world here is going to be nice and love these girls and treat them with kindness and respect.
Which I feel like is not even that unrealistic.
Sure.
You know, like sometimes we get too in our heads about like, oh, you can't trust strangers or whatever, but like this whole movie has such a sense of community that they like, when the dad needs to go to work, he knows he can go to his neighbors and they'll watch his daughter, and like the kids walk to and from school with no adults and whatever, and when May gets lost, the whole community, like everybody they know is asking, has anybody found her yet? They're like going out and searching, like, which happens in real life. Like, we don't have to be so distrustful of people all the time. Like any given person, if they saw like a 4-year-old girl walking alone, would like be concerned about that, you know?
There is actually a term for this. And so I have nails on. I can't type very fast, but...
Is it Mean Girls 2024?
It's a pretty similar movie, yeah.
It's called Mean World Syndrome. But this is that people, especially because of media, people interpret the world as being like... This is why people say that, oh, if you were to ask someone on the street, they're like, has crime risen or like decreased since the 70s? And they say, oh, like increased for sure. It's not. It's been on a steady decline. Yeah. The economy,
there's
all these
higher
things.
arrests, maybe, but not
Especially
higher
like
crime
violent
rates.
crime. Yeah, all of these things have been steadily decreasing. Like the world is much safer to be in than it was in the 70s, but people watch like Law and Order and Criminal Minds and all of these things. And they tend to assume
listen to like true crime
podcasts,
or
and so people assume that the world is meaner than it is, which, you know, it's good to be aware and it's good to be like cautious of things, but not to the point where it makes you feel unsafe and distrustful of everyone regardless. And so I think it's good to have a balance of both of these things of, you know, people are capable maybe of doing bad things, but also, you know,
for the most part they're not going to.
people are good. And so maybe this one can count for...
I was gonna say, that's a communications topic. You learned that in school.
I did.
Take that, Dr.
Kevin John.
Uh-huh.
He's a really cool guy. He plays cello. Well, actually, I don't know if he plays cello. I assume he plays cello because he just carries one. He carries it around.
Oh, okay. I just thought you were profiling.
You know, when you're like, cello.
Yeah.
Just one more thing, kind of going back to this. It's very indicative of the culture in which the movie was made. That first of all, they like are so easy to assume that there is like a benevolent spirit that's watching over the girls, because that's a very big like. These are real terms that come from like Japanese folktales, and a lot of Miyazaki films have like this sense of like a spiritual world and whatever, tying back into those same like folktales. And also there is a greater sense of community and like childhood independence. Like you'll see kids going places by themselves because they know how to get from here to here, and they know that if they get lost, strangers will help them. So it's less of like a stranger danger, like kids can't go anywhere by themselves, but it's just part of the culture that like this is how we raise our children, to be able to wait at the bus stop for their dad without an adult there, because everything's going to be fine, and the people at the bus stop know that they're there, and it's like not a big deal.
Is Japan the country that has like the first errand day. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
That's
where it's like they go out for the first time and they come back and it's like this big thing.
It's
Like,
like,
look what you got, milk.
Yeah. They go to the store and buy like a cabbage.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen like I love the videos where they have like a little flag in their backpack to show that it's their like it's their first errand, so that everybody knows.
Like, yay, look nice.
They're like 4 or whatever.
They're so little.
They're
They're
very
so small.
Yeah.
I
But
love
old
it.
enough to feel like that they can, I'm just off to run some errands, and they can go and do that and like feel important and a part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Nellie was 4, her favorite thing was getting the mail for Papa.
Mhm.
Like every single day she'd be at her Nana and Papa's house and be like, do you think the mail's here yet? Let's go check the mail. And we go out and I would have to open the mailbox for her because it's kind of tall. And she's like, anything in there? What does this say, Papa? That's
Nellie,
like, it's
if
a
you're
perfect
watching
age
this-
to get started and stuff like that and feel like you can be a part of a community.
I love her
Yeah.
so much.
She's so sweet.
I don't know if I've told this story on this channel, but Nellie's my best friend.
Just to be clear, nobody's cooler than Nellie.
Not
in the
one
world.
soul. No, I was at dinner with her and her family once, and you also were there.
Being part of the family.
Being part of the, yeah, because you're related to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were sitting next to each other. Nellie turns and asks me very seriously. She's like, "What's your favorite kind of cake?" Because these are the questions that 4-year-olds ask that are so important.
These are really important, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the movie, you know, they make lunch, and May is like so excited. She's like, when is it time to open my bento that my sister made for me?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It's so sweet.
these are the big ritual moments in a child's life.
Yeah. So, and I was kind of being a little bit funny because my mom makes this really, really good banana cake. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's so good. She makes it with cream cheese frosting, and then we put it in the freezer so it's like nice and cold. And it's divine. But people don't often hear about banana cake, and so I was like, she's
It's
never
not
gonna
a
guess.
common guess, yeah.
Yeah. And so I had this in my head as like banana cake, and I was like, you go ahead and guess what my favorite cake is, Nellie, thinking I would get one up on her. And she looked at me, she kind of did this like up down movement, and she's like, banana. Do you remember this? I was speechless.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I couldn't talk because this child just
She's like, you know, when you look at someone and you're like, cello.
She's ready for filth. She knew immediately. And yeah, she's the coolest person on the face of the earth. And my favorite cake is banana cake. Yeah. Anyway, Nellie, if you are a little older and are watching this now, hi.
Hi.
Or they're just saying, make me banana cake.
Oh, you could do that too if you wanted.
You should do.
That's all I really had to say about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have anything else?
I just, if I had more time to think about it, maybe I would do like two. But I mean,
Overall,
overall,
it's
it's
good.
utterly
It's
charming.
just good.
Yeah, it was just delightful. I enjoyed every single second of it.
Yeah. I like that the animation is very beautiful and very like you can tell that it's a Miyazaki film, but it's a little more simplistic than a lot of animation that we see now. I think we've made a lot of strides in like people appreciate animation more with like Spider-Verse and like the Ninja Turtles movie and stuff. Like we can see how far we can take it stylistically, but I do also really like the really simplistic like May smiles like a frog. Like who cares?
It's lovely. It does, the whole thing kind of feels like a childhood memory. Yeah.
Yep.
10 out of 10, no notes. Miyazaki, you've done it again. You
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
This
Yeah.
is something we said earlier too, that he's the only director that we've seen consistently understand what it's like to be a child.
Yep.
And no angst.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. And children have like agency and autonomy.
Yeah, they're intelligent and they have a personality.
They're
and-
complex.
yeah.
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 He respects them, and that's really, really good.
Mhm.
Yeah. I can't wait to see The Boy and the Heron. I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But
It's on the spinner.
It's in the works.
Sorry, I'm spitting on my mouth. It's on the spinner.
it is on the
Yeah,
spinner.
yeah.
Yeah, we have, and we don't have it up here, but we have a
planning to
spinner
watch it
of-
this weekend.
Yeah, all the movies to watch. I dreamt the plot of it a couple months ago, so we'll see
Great,
if
so
it,
we
Exactly.
can compare.
I thought it was pretty exact,
Probably.
but I haven't seen the movie yet, so I
Right.
don't know.
Good.
Thanks
Cool.
for listening. Thank you. Oh, special guest star Allison.
Oh
Also,
yeah, by the
yeah.
way. Welcome to Women in STEM. This is Allison. Yeah, well. And I have to do it right now.
Okay.
Because we didn't do it earlier. STEM for Totoro,
Oh no. Okay.
I think that it stands for sweet, tender, emotional movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Sweet, tender, emotional Miyazaki. Because we use.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, tender, emotional Miyazaki.
Yeah.
And now we have it.
We've done it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yay! That was so easy. And now we don't even have to do it later because we did it
Now.
right now.
Oh, you're recording.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, it's on
Just,
me, but
oh.
Oh,
well,
yeah,
sorry
just for
about
the.
Yay! Say hello. Bye.